Good Christmas morning, my dear friends. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So happy to see you today. And if you're celebrating, I just hope today is the most joyful day in recent past. I've got my special liqueured coffee here, and I want to talk about a very special candle, which is super appropriate for this morning. And that is a candle by Glasshouse. And this is the first time that I'm reviewing a major Glasshouse candle on this channel. The candle in question is appropriately Christmas morning. And I'm just showing you the box here. Look how pretty. It's like kind of iridescent. And as you can see, it is spiced blood orange and pine. That is the fragrance. As it says on the back, it is made in Australia. This is an Australian company. And from what I can tell, one of the few major candle companies in Australia. And they don't just focus on candles. They focus on body products as well. Like they do soaps, they do hand soaps, very similar to like Times here in the States. And I think they're sold in like fancy boutiques in Australia. They have started to show up in the United States. They are available on various different high-end retailers like maybe Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom, etc. And they have been showing up en masse in Marshalls and TJ Maxx's, or at least in specific Marshalls and TJ Maxx's. I went in, I don't know, I want to say a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I'm not kidding, no exaggeration. I think there were 25 Glasshouse candles, and they were all different varieties. I mean, it was like 25 different Glasshouse candles of all different kinds. Here, let me show you the candle itself. I'm so sorry. So here is Christmas morning. That's what it looks like. All of the Glasshouse candles are shaped exactly like this. They are glass vessels. They tend to be colored. Some of them are ceramic, depending upon if they're like a super limited edition. And they all have this really nice lid, which is nice. They are 2-wick and they are a soy blend. I don't know what they're blended with. But I would say that it's blended heavily because I wouldn't say that it necessarily comes across as a significantly soy candle, at least in terms of the wax formula. Like you don't see any like rippling or pocky kind of marks or whatever, those kinds of things. So, soy blend. This one is, I guess I have to look at the box. This one is 13.4 ounces. So approaching what you would get in a Bath and Body Works candle, and these are pretty spendy. I want to say that this is in the if it's a limited edition, it's definitely in the $55 price point now. I believe that's true, and I should have checked that. That said, there are candle companies like Nest, for instance, that will give you less than that for about the same amount, for the same price. So compared to a company like Nest, this one is actually not bad. I can't say that it's inexpensive. In terms of the higher range candles, I think Voluspa is probably on the lower end of the high-end candles. That said, the performance is not great. Despite the packaging, the performance is not great for a Voluspa candle in a size like this. So there's that. I think very comparable to Nest in terms of pricing and maybe a little bit less, and you get a lid. I'm looking at you, Nest. You do not have lids. So I really kind of like the lid, not only for storage, but I just kind of like to pop that on afterwards. And I think it's a nice touch, especially if you're spending a lot of money for a candle. So this is the first time I've burned Glasshouse. They were coming in at $24.95 at Marshall's. And at $24.95, I was okay with that. When they initially started appearing, I think they were $30. And I was very tempted to get one of them because it's one of the only ones that I've really liked in terms of fragrance. And randomly and ironically enough, it was like a macaron candle, a blueberry macaron candle, which you know, I'm not a gourmand person, but honestly, that's been my like favorite candle, smelling it, of Glasshouse before I encountered these. I don't love their scents that much. Anyway, it was $30 and I passed on it because I had heard not great things about performance on Glasshouse. And I'll tell you what, I have fantasized every single day about that blueberry macaron candle, wishing that I had picked it up. And if I ever see it in the store, I will definitely grab it. All right, so Christmas morning lately, I mean, in that huge haul that came out about a month and a half or 2 months ago, they had a ton of different candles and they weren't just Christmas related, but obviously they had a lot of Christmas candles too. Glasshouse has, from what I can tell, about 4 Christmas candles, maybe 5. I know Under the Mistletoe, I think, is maybe one of them, and the Night Before Christmas. Night Before Christmas, it looks like one of their like bestsellers, or the one that they think is the most popular. I can't remember if I smelled it or not. There were several Christmas candles. I didn't really love any of them, with the exception of Christmas morning. This is one of the, I mean, outside of that blueberry macaron candle, this is definitely the one. And oh, this one too, and I even have it sitting here. I talked about it in that haul. This is the other one that I picked up, same shopping trip, and this one is $24.99 as well. This is, and the Christmas morning and the blueberry macaron are the 3 that I think are just fantastic. Like, they blew me away, and like, I love them in terms of fragrances, and I'm willing to take the plunge, even though the way is strewn with caveats and with objections and screams of protest that they don't perform well. I am like willing to do it because these fragrances are so great. That said, friends, this is probably about the 30th candle from Glasshouse that I've smelled at Marshall's and TJ Maxx over the last like 2 years. And I have not loved any of them. So we're talking 3 candles that I like from the 30 that I've smelled, which is not a good ratio. It's just really not. There were a couple that came close. There is one, and I think it's called like Sacred Heart or something, or Sistine Chapel, I don't know. There are a couple like that that are very like incense heavy that I could almost get behind, and I'm curious about how they burn. I like those kinds of scents. They were a little linear and overpowering, but I considered it. I didn't end up getting either one of those, but for the most part, I have not loved the fragrances from Glasshouse. I think they're often synthetic. They're very linear. They're often perfumey, and they're just not complex or particularly premium smelling. They smell like a company that's trying to smell premium, but in fact is missing the mark in terms of like, basically just in terms of fragrance. One thing I will say about them is that when you smell it on cold, it is always a very aggressive cold impression that you're getting, no matter what candle you're smelling from Glasshouse. But I have heard so many horrible things about actual performance when burning it that I know to kind of discount that particular cold scent impression. All right, so close parentheses, that's the preamble on Glasshouse. Christmas morning, I've been burning the last like week or so. This was one of the ones that I thought, I'm not going to get to it this year, it'll have to be next year. And then I thought to myself, you know, you are rounding out a set of, you know, candles in your house that are about to be done. You could do another wave. You could do another week of like 3 or 4 more candles. And so I thought, it's Christmas morning. We're coming up on Christmas morning. It's really gorgeous. I've not done a Glasshouse candle. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I have burned it quite a bit. And as you can tell, it's messy for reasons that I will explain in a bit. But I would say I'm like down in here at this point, and that's after like several, I would say like 4 or 5 lengthy, multiple hour burns. That said, I did pour some wax off. Actually, I even brought it with me. I poured some wax off, and again, we're gonna talk about that as well. Let's talk about the fragrance, because the fragrance is what is truly special. So spiced blood, orange, and pine. So spiced blood orange is automatically going in like an orange pomander direction, yeah? And there's pine. They've got like a fancy blurb here on the back. I'll read it to you. No more sleeps. It's just so like child friendly. How many of you have children? No more sleeps. The woody zing of aromatic pine fills the air as we gather around the tree to toast the year's happiest day. Jingle all the way with bauble red festive cocktails. Look at that bauble red. Spiced with smoky, warm cinnamon, pungent clove, and deliciously sweet, juicy blood orange. I mean, it's like a frou-frou blurb for sure, but companies like Kringle, please take note. Lately, Kringle has tried to do a little bit better with like the blurbs, but it just looks like somebody has like taken a thesaurus off of the shelf and like just tried to insert all of these words that like, and it doesn't work. This one does. It's obviously written by a professional. All right, so the main notes here are, it says cocktails. I don't think there's anything like boozy about this at all. That's the one thing that's like, I don't think that's represented. Spiced with, okay, now here's where we get to things that can be smelled. Smoky warm cinnamon, pungent clove, and juicy blood orange. And all of that is here. And yes, it does have the pine as well, or a spruce, some sort of tree. It's a very faint tree, so I don't know that it's identifiable as like a specific kind of tree, but it's one of those trees, you know? And it's right back in here, okay? Right up in front. This is a very strongly spice. I would say spice. Spice is like the very first thing. Like that's like the vanguard smell. Spice, traditional spices, heavy with clove, heavy with clove. I would say more clove than cinnamon. And that's where the smoke is as well. So actually it's appropriate that they like said it was a smoky cinnamon. That's where the smoke is. The smoke is in the vanguard too. So you've got the spices, particularly clove and smoke. They do that really well, actually. That's what's in those like Sacred Heart incensey candles too, like the smoke and the clove, right? Okay, so smoke, clove, cinnamon, other things, right? Orange, pine, Christmas tree. That's your scent, and that's the way that you experience it. And the whole thing, rather than it being like sharp and like aggressive, like in a kind of astringent kind of way, it's not like that at all. It's just really very impressive given how strong and powerful each one of these like notes punch, yeah? Particularly the spices. But the orange like rounds it out and makes those like spicy and smoky elements work. It airbrushes them out and makes them sweet and makes them generous as opposed to like biting, yeah? And warm and cozy. And you've got that tree back behind you, and it is a gorgeous fragrance, beyond gorgeous. This actually reminds me, I did the Legacy Edition Christmas video yesterday. My top candle, and spoiler alert, it will always be my top candle for the Christmas season, is Holly Berry from Yankee Candle. And after I filmed that video, I was like smelling it. And I thought to myself, yes, this has a lot of cloves in it, and it's got like that berry like currant component as well. I do think it has some amber in it. But the one thing that I missed, and that I was sitting back and kind of like smelling it just for fun, because why not? There is a little bit of smokiness in that holly berry. It's just a little bit. It's not as much as in here, but there is a smokiness. So that holly berry by Yankee is like a little bit of a smoky clove, currant, amber. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you crossed that holly berry candle with bitter orange from Agraria, for instance, and then threw in some tree back behind it, that's what this candle is. And I think it is stunning, stunning. And because of it being a mashup of so many elements that are already in my Hall of Fame, I think this is almost like it's lobbying for a position in my Hall of Fame. Like, it is that good of a candle and that good of a holiday Christmas candle. If holly berry is Christmas Eve night, this is easily Christmas Eve morning. It's basically the same experience on steroids. Yeah? All the things. All the things. You know, kind of like in Nutcracker, where like everybody comes out for a curtain call at the end, you know? We've got the currants, we've got the tree, we've got the orange, we've got the smoke, we've got the spices, we got it all, we got it all, we got it all. Everybody take a round of applause, you know? Take a bow. It's that kind of a Christmas morning, if you know what I mean. And there's something like super apropos about it. When you smell this, the experience smelling it uncold is like an 8, no question. And I am so happy to report that when it's burned and or melted, you are gonna strongly get at least a 7, going up to about 8 or 8.5. I mean, it is a candle that you do not have to worry about strength and throw with, and thank God for that. I can't say that will be the case for all of the Glasshouse fragrances, but this one did not struggle in terms of strength and throw. It really does not. The problem is that it does burn not great. I get the sense that these are from folks who frankly don't know a whole lot about making candles. Don't. Yeah? By the way, I've shouted out Kringle for some like poor things. I could just shout out Kringle in a positive way. Kringle is a company, regardless of some of their missteps, they are a candle company. You feel confident that you're in the hands of people who know candles and who know about candle burns. I mean, par excellence. This is the this is the opposite experience. And frankly, often you feel that way with like a luxury and premium company. Many of the luxury and premium companies are done by like fragrance houses that actually gear more toward like personal fragrance or very high premium, like, I don't know, like home fragrance, like soaps and stuff like that. And so they've added on candles very like, it's savvy. I mean, they've got a lot of the elements and they've got the line and they've got, oh, it makes sense to make a foray into home fragrance candle, but you get the sense that they've kind of like added it on and they feel as though all they really have to do is like pour their long-standing like oils or their scent, you know, profile and just like pour it into some wax and we're going to call it a premium candle. But like they don't really get like the art and the science of candle making, burning. So they just often do not burn well at all. This was no exception. So the very first time that I burned it, I was heartened because I thought, this is great. It really pulled out almost the entire way with a little bit of a sliver. It did take several hours, but of course it was the strength in the throw. It was like burning like a champ. The flames were high. I thought to myself, who said Glasshouse was a bad burn? It's doing fine for me. Yeah, until like the second burn, which was a complete disaster. The sliver of wax just became like beyond tunneling. I mean, straight through. And in fact, I even took a picture at a certain point because I put it in the hurricane. I was like, okay, maybe it needs like more heat, more whatever. I put it in the hurricane. This is what it looked like in the hurricane after like 3 hours of burning. And it just was going all the way down and tunneling all the way down. And I thought to myself, okay, like we just have to reset. We have to like make this work. I was dedicated to making it work because the fragrance was so gorgeous. And when it burns high, then you get strength and throw. When it was doing that puny wick tunneling thing, I was starting to get kind of like a 5 out of it, which is the ceiling, the glass ceiling, if you will, of many candles. So 5 is not bad, but considering that this is it easily goes 7 to 8 or 8.5, you don't want to see it at a 5 and you don't want to see it performing that well. So I have like a warmer, a top-down warmer, and I warmed it to like fix the tunneling issue, number one. And then I found that what the best thing to do was to start it out in the warmer. And I do that because actually, okay, here's a little window into my like routine and my habits. At night, after dinner, I'm a night walker. I like to walk at night. And I listen to podcasts. I listen sometimes to like YouTube videos, listen to music, and I walk and I walk. And then I come home and I shower, yeah, and I go to bed. Here's the thing. I also have a routine of like making my bathroom like a sauna, and I always have a candle in my like bathroom sauna like when I take a shower. It's one of those little things that can just make a difference in terms of your experience. The problem is, here's the problem. And first world problems. But like when I go for a long walk, I can't leave candles burning in the house. I just don't think that that's like safe. So from the evening time, I have to like burn out all the candles, go for a walk, come back. And I tried like lighting a candle for like my shower experience, but no matter how long my shower experience and everything was, it usually wasn't enough to allow any candle to pool correctly, etc. It was an issue. So, close parentheses, I have like my favorite routine, which is when I go out for a walk, I like extinguish all the candles, and then I turn on in my bedroom the top-down warmer of whatever candle I'm going to burn in my special shower experience. And it starts melting, yeah? By the time that I come back from my walk, my bedroom is beautifully scented, and I've got a good, even, like centimeter of wax, no matter what candle it is. By the way, those one wicks from Bath & Body Works are very, very good for just this sort of thing. Like one of those little ones, yeah? You got some wax, then you just light it up. You light it up, you take it out from the warmer, you light it up, it's already pulled all the way, and you've got not only the ambiance for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, yeah? Not having to worry about it burning unevenly, and it just starts kind of burning some of the wax off, yeah? Now, if you do that repeatedly on a certain candle, at a certain point, you do want to kind of pour off wax. So this week I use this as my like walking candle. And I would come back and like my entire, frankly, house. I mean, I would open the door and it'd be like, hello, Christmas morning. Because once it was warmed, it jumped back up to like that 8 range. These candles just do not burn well. They just don't. Yeah. So I would come in, there would be like a little wax pool, I would light it up, I'd take my shower, do my evening ritual, and then I would blow it out. I would put it under the candle lamp, and then the next day I would do exactly the same thing. So that's the way I've been using it past that first like couple burns, one of which was fine, the second one which was disastrous, yeah? And then last night I went ahead and poured off some of the wax because I came in from my walk and I was like, while I can smell it, it's not as strong as it used to be, which told me that like I needed to renew the wax a little bit, pour some out, etc. So that's what I did. That's why it's messy. Yeah. I guess the upshot of this is, and I mean, the people who have been burning glass houses have been complaining. Like, these candles do not perform well, generally speaking. If you get one that does, thank your lucky stars. Like, that's an anomaly. Generally speaking, these are unfortunately not candles that you can light and forget. You just can't, okay? They're not in the same category as like Kringle candles or even Bath and Body Works candles, where there is enough candle know-how that for the most part they're gonna burn correctly, right? Not done by the, I hope that Glasshouse does end up, especially as they make forays into the United States market, which is there are a lot more competitive candle companies. They're gonna have to up the ante. They just are, yeah? So I really hope that like in their foray into the US market, they are gonna hire some people who know more about candle performance and burn and candle making in general. The fragrances are not great, but certain people may like them, and a few of these are extraordinary, no question. So this is not a candle you can set and forget. Probably none of the Glasshouse's ones are. You can try it out, burning it initially. You may be fine, but when you start to tunnel, when you start to see issues, and that may happen in the first burn, that may happen in the second burn, but it will almost certainly happen at some point in the burning of your candle. I'm pretty confident about that. When that happens, then you need to start the melting route. So if you've got a top down, that's the direction I would go in. The bottom up warmers, especially given the fact that you're not going to get very far into the candle before you have problems. So if you set it into a candle crock, it's going to burn from the bottom, which is fine if you just want it to like be kind of burned or melted in like 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? But if you want to do it gradually and in stages, because it'll loosen the wick clips on the bottom, and when it melts all the way, like you can see the bottom, like the bottom of a pool, that is going to allow all of your fragrance to dissipate fairly quickly. So if you want to do it in stages and still have that fragrance intact all the way down and have longevity, the top down burner is where you want to go, and just let it go like an inch or so, or even less, repeatedly until you start to find that fragrance dissipate. Pour some of it off, maybe trim your wicks just for aesthetic, like whatever. They were like standing straight up, like, you know? You don't have to do that, but I did. And then just go for another round. And like I said, I like it it glows a beautiful color. I do like seeing it burning, but you have to burn it once you have allowed it to pool all the way around. Give those wicks a fighting chance, let them burn high. At the end of my shower routine, like it was starting to form like a ring of wax around the edges. So I just think maybe these particular wicks or the wax formula are not sufficient to give it like a really beautiful even burn the way that it is. And I don't know, I would hesitate with the diameter. I think the diameter is fine, and I actually think 2 wicks should be fine for that kind of a diameter, which makes me think that it's an issue about wax formula and it's about wicks, and it's just not quite right. And a professional needs to sit down and like rework their formula, rework their wicks, rework a lot of different things. But the fragrance is gorgeous. All right, guys, that was a lot. I really apologize. But obviously you're watching this at your leisure. So, and it was only one candle, but it's a beautiful candle. And frankly, a shoe-in for my Hall of Fame. It is that good. I'm tempted to kind of put it back in its box and just store it. I have been trying to burn through my candles. Like everyone, I have resolutions in this regard. I have way too many like half-burned candles. I need to burn them all the way out, get them out of the house. But maybe a Christmas morning candle is a little bit different. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this readily next year. Certainly not at a good price. So I may just, there's a good half of that candle. I may just stick the lid on and move to other candles at this point. It's got a beautiful box. Stick it in there. Come back to this next year. I already love it, but I'm already so excited about opening this up next Christmas and being like, oh, my special friend, you know, because the scent memories and like, it builds with every year. You know what I mean? So I'm really happy. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this in my legacy video next year. In terms of where you can get it, I kind of looked on the website. There are still retailers that are selling it. I think it's sold out on the actual Glasshouse website. But I did see one or two available, maybe either at Bloomingdale's or at Nordstrom's. So I will link those down below. From what I can tell, which is kind of cool, Glasshouse repackages every year and does a completely different package, a different label, a different limited edition, whatever, same scent. But so this year it's like a green, it's a green candle, and it looks like a brownstone with all these like figures. It's a little bit cluttered and colorful for me personally. I kind of like the simplicity of this. Well, what I appreciate is that time and care to like have a different limited edition vessel every single year. I think that's kind of cool, and especially if you end up burning it every year, you're like, oh, what is it going to be this year? It's like the Starbucks red cups, you know? So this was obviously like last year's or whatever, and which is why it was at Marshall's. So it will not look like this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the Christmas mornings for this year were green, so don't be like weirded out by that. I'll link all of that down below if you're interested. I just really highly recommend it. If you're a pomander person, frankly, especially if you're a spice person, and if you just like these kinds of Christmas candles across the board, this is sophisticated, it's gorgeous, it's got all the things, it's blended to perfection, it's got great strength and throw, it just needs a little bit of help and nursing. You've got to be thoughtful about the way that you burn it. But if you are thoughtful and you're willing to do a little bit of melting, I think you'll be super happy with it. That's what I've got. For those of you that are celebrating, Merry Christmas. I hope that your day is joyful. I hope that your family is healthy and well. For those of you who aren't celebrating Christmas, I wish you love, I wish you peace, I wish you joy and all the things. At the end of this year, going into the next year, I'm gonna have some 12 days of Christmas. Lingering Christmas candles here in this week, and then I know we need to wrap out the week with Kringle Year in Review. I've got to do a video on them, and Bath & Body Works Year in Review, which also includes the lineup of our best new candles of 2023 and which one won. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll see you in the next one.